What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg Wave. I wanted to share with you guys today what my first month of driving for Uber looked like. I thought it would be fun to go back and just see what my numbers were like, and because I can kind of remember my first week. It was a few years ago, but I have some vague remembrances of some of the stories and things I went through and just kind of where my mind was at, like my ideas and theories of what Uber was at the time were so out there because I just had no idea what to expect. So I went ahead and took a peek back at my numbers for that first month, and I'm gonna leave all that here for you guys so you guys can take a peek. So here's the first week. Obviously I didn't go all too crazy with it. I was just kind of testing it out, just 2 days to kind of, you know, get my feet wet and see what I think about the whole thing as a whole. So there, $66, $10 in tips, worked for 4 hours. Obviously that's not even like the best hourly rate. But if I had to guess, so I was driving in Nashville, Tennessee when I first started, and I remember just like sitting, like parking my car literally in downtown areas thinking that was like where I should be. And I would just sit there and wait. And I would sometimes, like, I remember waiting like 30, 40 minutes for a ride, which now I know, like, I mean, this might be different in most places, but like the only time you should ever sit in a downtown area is at like 1:45 in the morning on Friday or Saturday night when you're waiting for a surge ride. But other than that, it's like you're not going to get rides, you know? So I remember distinctly doing that, and man, if I could go back. So that was the first week. Really not much to see there. Yeah, 4 hours, $10 in tips, $66. I mean, that's basically just showing one day. Second week, obviously I was getting a little more ballsy. We're looking at $160, still only $10 in tips. I must have been like a freaking librarian in the car, just dead silent. But I was pretty nervous, like, about talking to people and having to be social, so probably not too much to see. You would have thought they would have been a little bit nicer, knowing that I was a new driver, but apparently not. 12 and a half hours, so, you know, still, I mean, barely even, like, part-time. Like, these are still, like, essentially extra hours time. I mean, 12 and a half hours, that's, like, not even an hour a day if you balanced it out. So yeah, nothing really too much to see this week besides I really should have made more in tips there. Holy cow. Third week, little more action, $304. We made $30 in tips, so we tripled our numbers from the previous week, but also the hours here are better. Like, obviously for the third week, you're seeing that I was a lot more productive. I was doing a lot better for my per hourly rate, because obviously the week before I did $160 in 12 and a half hours. The next week I did $305 on only 3 hours more. So if I had to guess there, obviously it's the weekend driving. It's always the weekend driving that makes the biggest difference. So that's a little bit of a better week. That's actually not too bad. I had a good amount of surge rides that week too, from what I remember. Fourth week, not too bad either. You're at $255, $25 in tips, 17 hours. So that was actually a complete decline from the third week. I went down on my tips, I went down on what I made, and I actually increased my hours. So a lot of these things, I mean, these numbers are very, very just unfair to even assume this is what it would be like to be an Uber driver. But here's the craziest thing about all this, and this is actually the main reason I wanted to do this video, because this is not, you know, this is not bad actually. So keep in mind for all this that when I started driving for Uber, I was, 22 years old. You know, no college education, no real career, not really doing anything. At the time, I was just living with some roommates. I had super cheap rent. So for me to go out and, you know, part-time, this is what it came out to per hour. And again, this is like barely even part-time, but I made $785 in the month, so an extra $800 in a month, not bad. I know a lot of people that would be happy with, you know, an extra $800. You know, $75 in tips, I would have absolutely crushed that nowadays. But again, scared, innocent, antisocial driver. That was Greg way back in the day when he first started. So I did all of that in about 49 hours. And this is what interested me, is that came out to $16 per hour, which now, like, I am not gonna lie, I'm a little spoiled. I hate working for Uber and Lyft now if I'll only make like $15 an hour. And again, spoiled, but a lot of it is because I know I can go out there and make 20 to 25 an hour if I do it the right way. You know, if I'm out there being really social, you know, really talking and engaging with people, and you know, being in the right areas, you know, I can easily kill those numbers. So it's like, why would I want to go out for 15 an hour if I know I can, you know, do it for 20 an hour? So, but this is what was so impressive to me, is that I still made $16 per hour. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you guys live, but here minimum wage is $11 an hour. So like, the fact that you could do this and right off the bat, you know, without knowing anything, without being good at it, make 15, 16 bucks an hour. That is like the absolute power in Uber and Lyft driving. So for a lot of you guys that are on the fence, maybe you're watching this video because you're looking into Uber or Lyft. Maybe you're new to rideshare driving. You want a little bit of extra income. You can only do 5 hours a week. It's still worth it, you know, because what was I doing? I was doing about 10.2 or 3 hours per week. Again, that's like, that shouldn't almost be considered part-time, because you can easily be working a full-time job and give this 10 hours a week to, what does that average out to? An extra $200 a week. I mean, an extra $200 a week is like amazing. And for me, at 22 years old, like I said, not really doing anything, that was huge for me. And that was why I immediately saw the value in it. I was like, okay, I really didn't work this that much. Still did all the other stuff I was doing, and I still came away making $16 per hour. I actually, yeah, so the job I was working at the time, I made less than 16 per hour. So that was pretty wild for me, was like hopping on this like thing at the time. Like, again, Uber to me was so foreign. It was like, you know, what is this like weird taxi cab company? So I hopped on and I made $16 per hour, did better than my current job at the time. And so what's cool then is then I transitioned into full-time driving. I checked my other numbers, and about probably 2-3 months after that, I had switched to being a full-time driver. I was running Uber and Lyft. I'd quit my job, and I was putting, you know, a bare minimum of 30 hours per week in. The one thing I do remember when I first started, and I think this is a lot of people have found this, is that for me, again, since it was so much better, there's like two directions you take that knowledge as a newer Uber driver. You're either like, okay, well, screw my job, I'm doing this, and I'm gonna grind out 60 hours per week and really build something here, which I did that here and there, but the main thing I did when I started was, as a full-on full-time driver, I got really lackadaisical. You know, I had weeks where I was doing like the bare minimum. I would like not work all week and just stay in my room playing video games. And then Friday and Saturday, I would go out and bust out these like 15, 16-hour shifts, because I believe at the time there was no lock on how many hours you could do on Uber and Lyft. So I would literally just be lazy all week. I would wake up on Friday at 10 a.m. and drive on Friday, sometimes from 10 a.m. till 3 a.m. And then I would do the same exact thing Saturday. Then I would literally just like sleep all day Sunday. And then Monday through Thursday, I was just doing whatever I wanted. And to be honest, like, that's not a bad lifestyle. You know, it made me happy. Now, eventually I wanted way more out of life, but that's the whole thing I'm trying to say is, like, you can be sucky at this. You can be antisocial. I don't know how many people I've given rides to that were like, oh, I'd love to do this. I just, you know, I'm just so bad at talking to people. Okay, I made $16 an hour in my first month because I was bad at talking to people. Anybody can do this. Like, you don't need to overthink Uber and Lyft, okay? Because that was my first week. I guarantee you any of you could replicate that same exact week. It's really not that hard, guys. So there's my, or I'm sorry, I've been saying first week a few times, first month. These were my first months of earnings. So for those of you that are on the fence, really consider this. It can add so much value to your life, whether you have a full-time job. I really don't recommend doing it full-time anymore because it will destroy your vehicle. But 20, 30 hours a week, or even 10 a week, you know, could be an extra $200 a week. So right on, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys soon.